Hello, guys, and welcome to a new episode of the F1 podcast. Today, I'm gonna talk about the race review of the Brazilian Grand Prix with my friend Muhammad. We're gonna review the whole race. We're gonna say what we think and who was the driver who deserved praise and criticism, etc. So, first, let's start with Muhammad. Give us your race review. What do you think? Because obviously that it was a great race as always, as Brazil always delivers, even in the dry. What do you think?
I honestly get I honestly give the race a solid 8. I didn't find it had a lot of overtaking potential, but it wasn't chaos as I expected it. It was more chill, mellowed out. We had no retirements. Overall, it was a clean race from everyone. I would say if there's one driver I would give praise, it's Lando Norris. Absolute clean weekend. The only session where he missed out on getting P1 was practice. Other than that, P1 in sprint quali, P1 in the race, P1 in actual quali, P1 in the race as well, normal race. So yeah, I give Lando a 10 out of 10 rating wise. My most disappointing driver would be Oscar Piastri. I know it might not have been his fault that the water came on the racing line and he's has which spun him out and put him in the barrier. But overall, I think it's disappointing from Oscar Piastri. Also in the race, I thought he could easily overtake. Uh, I keep forgetting. He could easily overtake Max or not Max. I don't remember he was who he.
Kimi, Kimi and Charles.
Kimi. He could have easily gotten Kimi at the end, but honestly, very disappointing from Oscar Piastri. One driver I would also praise is Max Verstappen. Maybe not not qualifying wise, but the race he did an absolutely great race, uh, great race, and came up all the way up to the podium places, P2, which is good. Uh, another thing, he put pressure on Lando Norris, which is crazy to think Lando felt pressure. But overall, I'll give the race a 7.5 out of 10. Now let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, John, you said that there was not much chaos. Yeah, let's say after lap 10 there was not much chaos, but I think early on there was like a bit chaos. Obviously with the Bortoletto thing, Hamilton having problems, and obviously the safety car restart where obviously that moment with Charles Leclerc, Kim Antonelli, and Oscar Piastri. But in general, the race was quite good. I thought Lando Norris once again nailed it. His performance was absolutely electric. I mean, I think in his last 8 sessions, whether it's practice, sprint qualifying race, in his last 8 sessions, first position in FP3 Mexico, first in qualifying Mexico, first race in Mexico, first FP1 in Brazil, first in sprint qualifying in Brazil, first sprint in Brazil, first qualifying in Brazil, first race in Brazil. I mean, it's first, constantly like he's been on a mission. He's an absolute machine in the last two race weekends, nail it weekend like every single session. And he's been super dominant. And yes, you could say he has the fastest car, but his rival, he's not performing the level that Norris is performing right now. And in terms of Max Verstappen, I mean, what a great race he had. Again, another Brazil masterclass. I mean, he did it 2016, he did it last year, but you could say, last year, some people saying he was a bit lucky because of the wet and the conditions. But in general, this time, it was dry, and yes, he had the new engine, but he also had a bit, I think, a puncture in lap eight.
Yes.
And he still managed to came back, so many overtakes, and he could have gotten Kimi Antonelli at the end.
Mm.
Um, at some point, he was leading the race, which was crazy considering he was starting from the pit lane. Absolutely incredible drive from Max, and it shows that you can never, ever, ever underestimate Max Verstappen at any cost. However, I think Red Bull maybe there were some people saying that Red Bull like made a mistake in maybe let's say pitting Max Verstappen the third time,
Yeah,
where
I
he was
heard
leading
that.
ahead of yeah, that was when he was leading ahead of Lando for 7 seconds. Listen, I felt like Lando was gaining like a second over a lap on Max. So and let's not forget, the first pit stop that Lando made. After the first pit stop that Lando made, when he had the fresher tires, he was behind Max and he was able to overtake him quickly. So I think the Red Bull engineers, they thought like, yeah, well, why should we like waste 3 or 4 more laps where we could also lose the third position and the fourth position. So maybe they like took the risk bit a bit early, which I understand. Maybe I understand also why you could have the people's frustrations on why they could have taken the risk of Max like holding on because the tires difference between Max and Lando was I think 7 laps or something. So it's not like a huge difference. However, I also mostly agree with Red Bull's decision to do it because I think they tried to play the long game, and it was right at the end. Yes, it didn't work. They didn't. Max could have, they didn't get P2 at the end, even though he was close to Antonelli in the end. And I think if Max stayed out, he would have potentially finished second. But listen, I think when you Red Bull take this kind of decisions, sometimes it's easy to say, oh, they should have done this, should have done that, because at the same time, you never know. You'll never know. But great drive from Max Verstappen, great drive from Kevin Antonelli. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful weekend, second in every critical session. Great performance for him, and he showed like he's absolutely dominated George Russell's this weekend. And I was a bit surprised by George Russell's performance because I expected a bit more from him, considering Kim Antonelli was doing really, really, really well. But great performance from Antonelli to also especially have the nerve to still hold on against Max, a full-time world champion. Him having fresher tires was fantastic from Kimi Antonelli's side. So great performance from him, quality performance. Behrman once again, Oliver Behrman, another great performance. Like I think that's like 4 or 5 consecutive weekends. He's been absolutely amazing. Lawson had a great performance, especially when he was on a two-stop and managed to hold the train behind him, Hajar and Gasly and Hulkenberg. But yeah, great performance from Vicar and from particularly from Lawson. Yeah, in general, it was a great race. But I want to get your take on the incident between the safety car restart between Piastri and Kim Antonelli and Leclerc. Well, first question, who was responsible? And secondly, was Oscar Piastri's penalty fair?
Uh,
Ten
first,
second time.
First of all, I think 10 seconds is unfair. Oscar Piastri clearly locked up not to slam into Antonelli. Antonelli swerved on, tried to defend from Leclerc. I think he swerved on or tried to defend from Piastri, and Piastri did everything he could to avoid him. So he even locked up. Like for example, if he didn't lock up, he would have been straight into Antonelli. So locking up, he did his best to avoid him, and I think honestly it's a racing incident. Even if Piastri does not have the right there, 10-second penalty is way too much. Maybe a 5 second, maybe that's fair, but 10 seconds that's way too much. Secondly, I think Leclerc did nothing wrong. He was a passenger basically, and I think it's 50-50. Like neither is it Piastri's fault, neither is it Antonelli's fault. I think it's both drivers. Piastri needed to gain positions. It's for his championship. Antonelli tried to defend and swerved to defend and or came across to defend Piastri saw him and then he tried to do everything he could to avoid him. So he locked up and then yeah, I don't think it's Piastri's fault. I think it's 100% an unfair penalty, maybe 5 seconds. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think Oscar Piastri deserved the penalty, in my opinion. However, I will also say Kim Antonelli deserved the penalty because, let's be honest, he gave no space to Oscar Piastri, and which led to the crash in Leclerc. As you said, he was a passenger, and I think, I think it's both. I think if you say to me whether it's Oscar Piastri's fault or Kim Antonelli's fault, I would say it's both. I was like, it's Kim Antonelli and Oscar Piastri's fault because Oscar, first of all, like he should have been like patient. Like it's early on, it's the safety car restart, it was like before going to turn one, it was a three wide battle between those three drivers, and it's always going to end in tears. It's always going to end in problems. So I think Piastri, especially knowing that he's going to be difficult for him to win the championship, he should have been patient and not be desperate because that's what he did. That's the first of all. Second thing, Antonelli, he was at fault because he gave him no space. He gave no space to Oscar, and and yeah, like he should have been like, and he should have saw that like Oscar was in his mirror. Just like a similar incident in the Austin Sprint, where you could say Hulkenberg was mostly at fault, but Oscar was also at fault before because he should have seen in his mirror and Hulkenberg was in his mirror. This is similar situation as well. Not exactly, but similar.
Mm.
So yeah, um,
It,
yeah. I think Oscar deserved the penalty, but I think Antonelli should have also gotten a penalty.
I think, yeah, as you said, I think both deserve the penalty, but I think more so that Oscar is getting a little bit desperate. He's feeling like the championship is out of his grasp, and I think it's definitely seeming like it's a Lando Norris is gonna win the championship. As much as I don't want to curse Lando, but he's, as you said, P1 in every session for the last like two race weekends is actually kind of impressive when you think about it. Like Lando's been driving superb ever since he went for that move on his teammate in Singapore. I would say he's been driving absolutely out of this world. Uh, I think I think another thing is maybe Lando had a wake up call when he was in like eighth in Baku and his teammate was out of the race. He's like, this is not a way to win the championship. Maybe that's the reason. But yeah, I think it's a combination of Oscar Piastri was desperate in that situation, and Antonelli was trying to defend and actually get P2. But
Yeah,
I don't understand why would Antonelli try to defend considering you have a championship rival behind you. Maybe give him a little bit of space. Like you're not fighting for the championship. You're fighting for like P7th in the championship or P6 at best. Why would you? I don't get it. Anyway, I think we should we should move on from this situation. I think both were at fault, Antonelli
yeah.
and
Well,
Oscar Piastri.
yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
what do you think of Max Verstappen's brilliant drive?
it was a good drive, but I think like he could have easily won. No, he could. It's 50-50 whether he could have easily won if he had a good car from the start. But I don't know. I can't. But yeah, he did have a good drive. In general, he did have a good drive. He could have even got P2.
Yeah,
I
I
heard
agree.
that if even if Max Verstappen didn't pit, he could have easily put pressure on Lando Norris and even overtaken him. That's what I've heard.
Oh yeah, I actually, if you see I think in Twitter, I know
Yeah.
Twitter sometimes is not always correct in their logical wise, but I saw a graphic, a picture where in terms of the pace in the race, and Verstappen was the fastest. He was the fastest. So I think if that's the problem, and I think that's a new engine. It's a similar to
He's gonna.
Hamilton in Brazil 2021
Mm,
where he got a new engine and he dominated the race at the end. Where so Verstappen, I think is he could have won, but at the same time, when you start from the pit lane and when you have a puncture in lap 8, it's always going to be difficult. And you also have to pit like a couple of times, and because Brazil is a long track where you have to pit like 2 3 times. Yes, I understand. Maybe it could have gone to the end because for example, you see Lawson. He was how incredibly he managed to defend Hajar and the others having a two pit stop strategy.
mm.
But at the same time, it's difficult. It's difficult because let's not also forget like medium tires, soft tires, and it's a different ball game, especially in Brazil. And let's not forget Lando. Like I said, the Red Bull engineers, because they saw Lando overtake Max when Lando made the first pit stop in lap 31, I think they thought like, okay, let's not waste our time. Let's do it. Let's do the pit stop. Um, early on. So, but in terms of pace, I actually agree. Like Verstappen, if he didn't have that shocking qualifying, he could have had a good a good like. But the problem is with Red Bull, why you didn't have that engine at the start of the race? Why does it have to take for a poor Verstappen performance in qualifying for you to have a new engine? Why you didn't do it like before the week?
They only took the engine because he started P16. If you take an engine,
Yeah.
you get a penalty. So if they decided to take